Before we get into episode 144, I just wanted to tell you a little about Believe You Can 2021. It's the talent show presented by the Keystone chapter of the National Federation of the Blind of Pennsylvania. The date of the show is the 16th of October. Go to BelieveYouCan.live if you'd like to perform. There are cash prizes for first, second, and third place. They go $150, $100, and $50 respectively. You can also go to BelieveYouCan.live, that's BelieveYouCan.live, to purchase tickets. Thanks so much for your support. We really appreciate it.
From Studio B in Swarthmore, this is the I Can't See You podcast with David. It's like blind people for dummies.
Hello there, and welcome to episode 144 of the I Can't See You podcast. My name is David, at David Benj on all the socials. I really appreciate you joining me for today's episode. And I've got a couple of things to talk about, all pretty much related. Before I get into the episode, though, I want to thank Frank from the Pug Posse of the All Blind Football League for pointing out that I kind of misspoke last week when I talked about Coming to America about Randolph and Mortimer. While they did have a very small role in that, Randolph and Mortimer, of course, from Trading Places, the main movie that they were in. So thank you, Frank, for pointing that out. I appreciate that. And I don't know how I could have made such a terrible mistake. I love both movies, and I guess it's because I had watched Coming to America just a couple days before I recorded. So that was fresh in my mind. And I love them both. And if you haven't checked those out, give them a look. They're old ones, but good ones. Also, before we really get into it, I wanted to wish my friend Maria Rita in Italy a very happy birthday as this episode drops on the 23rd of September. Today is her birthday. So happy birthday to her. And, you know, I did debate singing like Liz and I always do. I thought, you know, maybe we could sing to her, but, you know, we really don't know her. I don't know what kind of international incident that might create with Liz and I singing and you know, to a foreign country with, I mean, listen, some people may think it's offensive because it pretty much is. It's so offensive. It makes a lot of people laugh. And that's why we do it. Not because we sing well. So happy birthday to you, Maria Rita. I know you do listen to most episodes, so I hope you're listening to this one. And I hope you have a great day today, although by the time I'm recording this, your special day is almost done. So I titled this episode, "Oh, You're That Blind?" Because we've been having, and I don't remember if I've talked about this, we've been having problems with our refrigerator in our kitchen. And of course, it's a fridge that we got when we moved into this house. It was the one that was here. And a few weeks ago, I noticed some things, maybe even a month ago, I noticed some things, like some of the things in the fridge felt funny. And, you know, we didn't think too much of it. And then one day I went to get ice, and there was no ice in the ice compartment. And I thought, okay, somebody used all the ice before I could get to it, and so forth and so on. Well, it turns out that there was no ice in it because the freezer was above freezing. So we didn't know what to do. We tried to call and get an appointment. It's a Kenmore fridge freezer. And we tried to get an appointment, and the nearest date that Kenmore could send a repair guy out was sometime in October. Now, of course, this was a couple of weeks ago. This was actually a couple days before the All Blind fantasy football draft. So that's how far back this has gone. Now, at the time, the freezer was above freezing, but it was still in the upper 30s. So we had moved what we could into our smaller fridge in our basement that we just got a few months ago. But everything, of course, wouldn't fit because it's, I think the freezer in our basement is like 10 or 11 cubic feet. The fridge in the kitchen is around 23 or so cubic feet. So we threw out a bunch of stuff. On the fridge side, the temperature in the refrigerator was in the low to mid 40s. Now, not great. Most places recommend it should be around 40, but I felt safe. I mean, listen, the stuff that I eat from the fridge, I was comfortable leaving in that fridge in the low to mid 40s. Berries, eggs, sauces like barbecue sauce and stuff like that. I was okay with that. And, again, we moved what we could into the downstairs refrigerator, but, because that's an overflow refrigerator for when Liz goes shopping on Sundays for, mostly veggies and stuff like that, there wasn't a ton of space. So again, we moved things that were important that, could make us sick if they had gone bad, to that fridge, and we left the remainder in the kitchen fridge. So when I got back from the fantasy draft that Friday, whatever the date was, the 10th of September, Liz and I started to look for a new refrigerator freezer for the kitchen. And again, the problem, just like with a lot of things these days, the supply chain issues are huge. We had tried to get a fridge for the condo when we sold it in January of last year. So it's been about a year. We've been looking to get a fridge. We were looking to get a fridge for that. And we actually had ordered two, hoping one of them would come in. And if both of them, for some reason, came in, we would have brought the second one over here and used that one in our basement. That didn't work. Neither of them came in. So we sold our condo without a refrigerator. The refrigerator that was there was decades old, which I think is funny because the bad fridge in our kitchen is only about 4 years old. It was purchased made in April of 2017. So 4 years old. We can't have warranty work done on it because we didn't buy it. We were told that, we aren't the original purchaser. You have to show the proof of purchase and so forth and so on. You can't do it. And again, if we could, we'd be into October before somebody could take a look. And so we're dealing with this and running up and down the stairs. Well, after on the 13th of September, so that Monday after that, after we had looked around and tried to get fridges, we were looking all over and couldn't really find anything. And when somebody would say, "Oh, I've got this one in stock," and we do a quick search on it and check Consumer Reports, by the time we call them back, nope, sorry, it's gone. So when that Monday came, I said to Liz, let's just wait and we'll see what this repair guy for our stove, also only about 4 years old, let's see what that guy says. Now, our stove was, I don't know what the story is. It also pretty new, only about 4 years old. And what would happen with that, not that it matters, Liz would preheat it and it would just randomly shut off after it was preheated. Sometimes during preheating, sometimes when stuff was in it cooking. And at first, when it first started happening, we had only been in here a month or two. So Liz thought, I'm using the timer. Maybe I hit the wrong button. Well, when it kept happening, she realized, hey, it wasn't me, because she stopped using the timer and uses Alexa, to do the timing of the different things. So we called and had somebody come out and take a look. They charged us $269 to put a new something or other in. When a couple days after the guy was here, started doing the same thing again. So, because it happened within 30 days, there was a warranty and the same company came back out and they're going to fix it. But again, we're still waiting on a part. And that'll be sometime in October when that gets fixed. And when I said, you know what, I'm just going to ask the guy when he comes for the stove to take a look at the fridge, or if their company even does fridges. And I asked the guy, and he said, we used to do fridges, but we only had one guy that did it, and he needs double knee replacement. So he's basically going to retire once he recovers because he won't be able to do everything that he could do. I said, okay. So I thought, let me look around, and Liz had sent me a couple of companies to try. So after the stove guy left, I called around and I found a place that I only had to wait a week to have somebody look at the fridge. And I thought, we can deal with this for another week. Because again, I'd rather spend a couple $100 or a few $100 rather than spend, $1,500 to $2,500 for a new fridge. And the problem with our fridge space, it is an exact space. There is not any leeway. We only have 35 3/4 inches wide to get a fridge in because of the way the cabinetry is built around it. And because they put this little I forget what the term is, and it's bad for me because, we obviously used to build cabinets for salons in salon supplies and interiors. But it had this little lip on the one side. One side was just straight. Had the other side been straight, it would have been 36 inches, and it would have been great. That would have opened up a whole bunch more of options for us. So, we have a specific depth, a specific width. Height we're pretty good on. We have over 70 inches, and most fridges are 70 inches or less. So we'd like French door, but we're okay with side by side. That's what the one that we have up there now is. And we just want one that's decently rated, has ice and water on the door, and, we're good with that. The one nice thing about the current fridge is that the buttons are tactile for the ice and the water and the other things that you can push to check, which I don't push to check, but because they're tactile and I know I can feel where the button is. So that part I like. When we were looking around at Home Depot, which, when we were there, before I went to the fantasy draft, probably Labor Day weekend, they were saying, you like that one? That one's, that is a good one, and blah, 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 blah. You can have that the week of, the 10th of October. And we're thinking, we can't last that long. That's too long out. So, we thanked the lady and we moved on. And that's what it is everywhere. If they don't have it in stock, and it seemed like the Home Depot that we were at didn't have anything in stock, everything gets delivered and everything has that kind of lead time. So, we're looking and, we're going back and forth with the person from Queen Appliance, which is out in King of Prussia, not too close to here, probably about half an hour, 40 minutes. But we had gotten the other equipment for the condo when we sold it. Again, the dishwasher that we had in the condo was decades old. The stove was relatively new, but not stainless, and the real estate agent wanted stainless to help it sell, which it did. And so, I felt comfortable dealing with this person at, her name is Sheila, at Queen Appliance. But so many things changed. She sent me a list the day before I left or the day I left for the draft. And we found one that we thought might work, and we remeasured. And I said, let's just wait until I get back and we'll determine. And, when we got back, it, of course, was gone. And one of the reasons we liked it, it was only $1,800 or $1,900. So when the repair guy came on Monday, this past Monday, the 20th, we're going over things, and he pointed to something and he said, do you see how, blah, 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 blah. I said, I don't. I'll take your word for it. I said, I'm legally blind and, I can't see any of that. I can't see this and I can't see that. And, he said, this thing is shot. He said, it's probably still under warranty. So, you should find out before you do anything else. So I did. I found out, and like I told you, you can't get the warranty work done. Now, when I called to make this appointment to have the repair guy come out, the only way that this company can look at a Kenmore is if it's made by somebody else. And our unit happens to be made by Whirlpool. So, when he told me that, I said, well, I guess I'm not going to get a Whirlpool or a Kenmore now because, obviously the reliability is terrible. I mean, when you buy a refrigerator, you're expecting more than 4 years. This is the first refrigerator in a kitchen that I've owned on my own since I moved out of my parents' house in 1989 that has gone bad. It's the first one. I bought the one that I had at the first house I lived in, which was a townhouse, was a scratch and dent. But because it was in a little cubby area, you couldn't see the scratch, and I didn't care. And we got a great price on that. When we went into the house after Liz and I got married and we moved into our house in Media, we bought a fridge from I think it was Circuit City, and they left their hand cart, which was awesome. We used that for years. And, lasted the whole time we were there, 20 plus years. When we did move to that house in Media, we took an old fridge from our townhouse in Brookhaven, and that went into our basement. And that was the backup one for drinks and, again, for, extra freezer space and extra fridge space. And of course, it came in handy. That eventually crapped out, but by the time that crapped out, it was probably 20 or 25 years old. So I expected that. Then we moved to the condo, and when we saw the fridge there, we thought, oh my God, we're going to have to buy a new fridge while we're here because this thing is so old. Well, it turns out we didn't, and it didn't matter because, when we sold the place, we had gotten rid of the fridge because we were going to hopefully get one for it. And I guess I'm glad we didn't have to because, it sold anyway, for just short of asking. So we were happy with, what we got there, and, we didn't have to spend that extra $500 to $800. I don't remember what the price was of the fridge we were getting there. Again, it was a small space, it was a, 3-bedroom, 2-bath condo, apartment. So this is the first fridge that's been in a kitchen that has gone bad in my life. I mean, maybe we had one at my parents' when I was a kid, but I don't remember. And, again, we had 2 fridges there too. So, my dad owned supermarkets, so he could bring something home every day if we only had one fridge. So congrats to Kenmore and Whirlpool for making the lemon. But when the repair guy is talking to me, he said, look, don't get the one with the extra drawer, get the French doors and then the freezer drawer down at the bottom. I said, okay. I mean, that's what we're looking at. I said, I kind of like the idea of that other drawer because, and again, I reiterated that I can't see very well. And, it's just easier for me to find something if there's a plain surface in the back. When you open a fridge, there's stuff everywhere. And, and I said, oh, so don't get one that has Wi-Fi or that extra drawer. He's like, no, there's too many things on it can go wrong and so forth and so on. And I said, well, I wouldn't have expected a fridge like this to go bad after, a short amount of time. So are you saying that they're not great? Or he said, I would stay away from LG and Samsung. And I wondered, now he's telling us don't get many frills on it and stay away from these 2. Now, is he saying that because he can't repair them and that's not good for his business, or is there a legitimate issue with them? Because that's what we're looking at, the one that we'd like to get that's hopefully in stock. And I actually put off recording this episode because I'm waiting to get a call back from Queen Appliance to see if it's still in stock, this unit. And, so I don't know, but we are at our wit's end with, getting this done. And I thought about it last night. So before we had the big fridge in our basement, and when I say big, again, it's only 10 or 11 cubic feet, we used a dorm fridge that Jacob had since he was a junior in high school when he boarded at Westtown. And so he's 27 now, so that's probably 12 years old or so. So we've used this, and when we first when we were in the condo, we used it. And when we moved here, that was our backup fridge. That's where, all the heads of cauliflower and broccoli went, and, maybe 1 or 2 other things that didn't fit in the main fridge when Liz did her shopping on Sundays. And so I said to Liz, after the repair guy left, instead of the temperature being in the, upper 30s on the freezer side and the mid 40s on the fridge side, the fridge was now in the 50s and the freezer was now in the 40s or 45, maybe even closer to 50. So we didn't feel safe with anything. So anything that was in there, minus some of my sauces, either got tossed, put in the little fridge that Liz brought upstairs and is now in our kitchen, or, if it could still fit, if there was still room in the fridge in the basement, it went in there. But there, most of it didn't fit in there because that was already packed. So as I'm looking at this little fridge, I've mentioned multiple times how I would love to move overseas. And if you've ever watched any of the shows where, folks look at places in Europe and the fridges are, they're under the counter. And I thought about it last night as I was getting something out of that little fridge. I said, hey, it's like we're living in Europe already with this little fridge. Now, of course, those little fridges usually also have a little bit of freezer space. The freezer space in this unit is enough for one tray of ice cubes if we wanted to put them in there. The door has come off and we haven't put it back on. So, there's nothing in the quote unquote freezer of that. And when I had said to the guy again, I said, I really need something that's accessible to me. I said, some of them, and I pointed to our fridge and I said, see how those buttons are raised and I can feel that. And I know the ice to change ice to crushed ice is the last button on the left. So I know I can just put my hand up there and feel it. I don't have to, I can't look to see it. I mean, I could probably pull my phone out and either have it read to me or, use the magnifier in Vision, which I'll talk a little bit about in a minute. But I can't see it. And I said, like the microwave, and I pointed to the microwave. I said, I can't use that. It's not accessible to me. I said, it's too high up for me to, use my phone to see. And it's like clear glass. So it's very, there's glare off of it, so my phone won't read it to me. So I can't use it. If I needed to put something in the microwave to nuke it, somebody else has to do it for me. I can't. It's not. The buttons are, it's like a touch panel, like your iPhone, and without voiceover. And he said to me, "Oh, you're that blind." And I started to wonder, what does that mean? I'm that blind. And as I'm thinking, even after he left, I'm glad he realizes that there is not one blind, which I've mentioned a million times. There's degrees of blindness. But for someone to say you're that blind, if somebody says, and it happens a lot anymore, it seems, somebody will use a word that just is almost offensive to what, for example, somebody will say, it's a Holocaust. Well, there's only one, and 6 million people died in it. And I put those two in my mind, him saying you're that blind, because a lot of people say, oh, I'm blind, I can't see that. But then they'll get in they'll take their keys out and get into a car and drive away. You're not doing that if you can't see, at least yet. If you're blind, legally or otherwise, you're not getting into that car and driving. And if you are, then that's a problem. I was on the phone once with a customer service rep from some company, and she said something to me. I said something like, "I'm visually impaired," and she says, "Oh yeah, I'm blind also." I said, "Oh really? Are you using a screen reader?" And she's like, "No. What's that?" I said, "Oh, it's reads your screen so you can work on a computer." I said, "Oh, so you're using a Zoom, whether a Zoom text or you're on a Mac so you could zoom in?" No, I use it regular. I said, "Oh, I thought you said you're blind." "Oh, well, I just can't see very well." There's a difference of not seeing very well, but still being able to read a book or read the newspaper, if people still do that, or read your computer screen without making major modifications. Or just going to the drugstore and buying a pair of reading glasses, like Liz has finally had to do. So the more I thought about this guy, it kind of angered me. And then it also angered me that he's telling me, don't get this brand, don't get that brand, don't get a lot of frills, don't get, again, I don't necessarily think I'm going to get a fridge with Wi-Fi on it, but, if I get a fridge with Wi-Fi on it, there's a better chance that I could use more of the functionality of it, whether I change the temperature or check some of the statuses. If the app is even partially accessible, I'll be able to listen to what the temperature is in the unit or, to make it colder or warmer or whatever, instead of saying, hey, to Liz, hey, the fridge feels warm or the fridge feels cold. You want to find the dial and turn it up or down or whatever. If I could even find the dial to do that, I feel like I've already won. And and again, it just made me laugh. And the more I thought about it, I thought, man, that is a great title for a podcast episode where I could talk about that and, go into it a little bit. And again, as I've mentioned before, there are degrees of blindness. But when somebody says, oh, you're that blind, that's like somebody saying, oh, I'm blind as a bat, but then they jump in the car, like I said. If you're blind as a bat, don't get behind the wheel because you can't see. And if somebody whistles, then you're going to go crazy and drive off the road. So I just thought it was funny, with that. And again, the more I thought about it, I got a little agitated by it. And, most folks, when they are blind, I usually don't get mad when people say something, whether it's about that or anything else. But the more I thought about it and I did explain to him, what goes on and, if buttons are flush, somebody that's blind or visually impaired, can't use that. They can't feel, okay, this is where the 1 is. And this is where the, whatever is, and I pointed to the microwave where it's all flush on glass and just a touch, like a touch screen. And, even our stove, even our, oven is like that. Of course, the stovetop is easy because it's just these big knobs that I could turn and, adjust accordingly. I know, for example, if I turn it on to 9 o'clock, I know that's as high a temperature, high a flame as I'm going to get. So, that is the main thing that I wanted to talk about today. Yes, I am that blind. To answer his question, Jason. To answer Jason's question, it was Jason who was the repair guy. Now, as I mentioned earlier, it's Maria Rita's birthday, and I debated on singing. And as I mentioned before the show, before the intro of the show, Believe You Can 2021 is coming up in October. It's the 16th of October. And I wanted to just talk a little bit more about it, other than the 30 seconds I mentioned before the intro. Like last year, it's going to be virtual. It's going to be via Zoom and probably Facebook Live. And tickets are $10 for an individual ticket or $25 for a watch party ticket. And you can go to BelieveYouCan.live. There's a couple of buttons there where you can make your choice of which ticket you want. Really appreciate that. Also, if you're listening to this before the 30th of September, there's still time for you to get in to be a performer. Now, I could probably do it. I would not be in the money because of the way I sing, but it still would be fun. Just because I sing badly doesn't mean I don't call myself a singer. Ask Liz or Jane or Jacob, or even Ziggy for that matter. So again, go to BelieveYouCan.live. There's an application there that basically asks who you are, what you're going to do, whether it's play a musical instrument or sing or tell jokes. And again, you can tell jokes. They've got to be PG or G because it's evidently at the NFB convention, I think I mentioned this back in the summer, they had a couple of comedians that were a little more colorful with their jokes and their language. And I think the NFB was a little bit, and I don't know why they caught off guard by it and, apologized for most of the night. I didn't listen to it. I had something else going on, but it's pretty funny. So again, BelieveYouCan.live. And for whatever reason, I cannot link to it via Facebook. Facebook says that page goes against community standards. I don't know what kind of community standards they've got there. I mean, it's a page for, a fundraiser for blind folks. So I did set up a Facebook page too. So it's facebook.com/BelieveYouCan talent show. And you can go there. But again, you can't find a link on the Facebook page to the website because it violates community standards. I mean, I thought I did a pretty nice job on the website. I mean, maybe that's what they're talking about. But there's all sorts of information there, and you can check out how last year's went. And last year, it was very successful. We were very happy with it. We were kind of hoping this year would be an in-person event. Unfortunately, we, with everything going on, we decided to do one more virtual, and hopefully next year will be in person. And so if you're blind or visually impaired and have some sort of talent, or at least think you have some sort of talent, go to BelieveYouCan.live. There's a form that you have to fill out. I think it's called Performer Form. Of course, that makes complete sense. Then you send that off to Lisa, and Lisa will get in touch with you and go over everything. You do have to perform live. hence the BelieveYouCan.live, if at all possible. We did a couple of folks last year that were recorded, and the videos they sent in, some were good and some were not. Some just did audio, sent an audio file. But we were hoping to get most folks live this year. And of course, if you've got some sort of internet connection issue the night of the show, that kind of will bounce you and you don't have a chance of winning the $150 top prize. People would probably vote for me for that just so I could get some singing lessons. And there's one last thing I wanted to talk about. Lisa and I did an interview the other day with a couple of folks from Envision. That's ENVISION. And the website is let'senvision.com. Envision makes this app, and it's there's a 14-day free trial. So if you've got an iPhone, go to the App Store or the Google Play Store. It's also available on Android. There's a 14-day free trial if you want to just check it out and see, how folks who are blind and visually impaired can do a lot of things that sighted folks do. And we talked to Karthik and Hope from Envision. Hope is a brand ambassador who is actually a member of the Keystone chapter, and Karthik is one of the founders. It's kind of funny, and I didn't get into it with him on the episode, but it was founded by two guys named Karthik. So I just can imagine as they're, working and, hey, is this Karthik? Yeah, and then you have to say which one. And but they're based in The Hague in the Netherlands, which I mistakenly thought that they were in Amsterdam. I mean, it's a pretty small country, but still pretty big difference. I've seen house hunters in both. And if I didn't want the warm climate, I would consider moving there. It's, again, very nice. Just about any place in Western Europe just, does something for me. And, I don't know if it's the architecture. I don't know what it is. But, I need a mild climate, down in the Mediterranean area. But talking to Karthik, especially, he had mentioned when the unit came out, so they have an app, as I said, but they then partnered with Google, and the app works with Google Glass, which I don't even think Google puts out anymore. But it enables a person to be hands-free, which is, my ultimate dream, because, when you're walking out and about and if I'm carrying a bag and I've got my cane, I can't carry the bag and have my cane in the same hand. So my hands are full. So if I need to see what a sign says, I've got to put my bag down, take my phone out, open the app, and then kind of, point to where I think there's some writing and have my phone read it to me. Of course, if you have the glasses on, you just look to where you think the sign is and it'll read it to you. There's all sorts of other cool things with the device. And, they call them allies. And what an ally is, it's basically like using FaceTime, as I did when I came back from Orlando a couple of years ago in March of 2020, just before everything, locked down. I needed help finding my suitcase. And so I FaceTimed with Jane and I just, showed her the carousel. Now, the problem was I had a bag in one hand, so I had to put lean the cane up against my shoulder while I held the phone looking at the belt to see if she could see the suitcase. And I can't remember what suitcase I have. We have one suitcase that we bought because it is so ugly and so bright, and it's got some sort of flowery pattern on it. Most people, you see the bags come up, it's a dark blue, a brown, a black. Some of the nicer bags have maybe some other colors, but are solid colors. But not this one. This one, I thought would be easy to spot. When I was in Orlando and somebody was actually helping me there, just another passenger, I said, you'll know it when you see it. It's going to be the ugliest bag you see. And of course they did. When it came up, they knew. So Envision using the glasses would be very similar to that. And, and there are other workarounds if you don't have the Google Glass and Envision, some people use, the different slate type of things that you put in your bag so you could hear it as it's getting closer. Apple has the tags now. I forget what they're called. Maybe they're the ones that are called the slate, whatever. But you know what I mean, the things that you can put someplace so when you lose your keys, you know where they are, those type of things. So if you use that inside of a bag, you're able to find, a blind person could find their bag on the belt or wherever. So when Karthik had mentioned that they released the glasses in March of last year, I had a flashback, because when I got back from that trip to Orlando, I was reading about them and their release. And at the time they were, I don't know, I want to say they were 1,500 euros. So at the time that was around 1,800 bucks. And I thought, oh, that would be, that's a lot of money to spend without trying them. But I knew that they were presenting at a show out in California called CSUN. And again, for, I don't know if it's all disabled folks or it's just blind and visually impaired. I know Brian and Ed from the All Blind Fantasy Football League, were at this one last year. And we're talking about how vendors were leaving the event early to go home. So they, because of COVID, the very beginning of COVID in the US. So I remember talking to Jane late one night, and it was, Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday of that week. So roughly the 9th through the 11th of March. And I saw that there was another event in, I don't remember if it was Germany or the Netherlands. And I said to Jane, would you get on a plane to go see these things? I was that excited for them that I considered it. And she's like, I don't know. I mean, it's, it seems like it's bad in Europe and, it's starting to get bad here. Of course, a couple of days later, Jane came home and stayed home for a year and 3 months or 4 months. So, while I would have done that, of course, that event ended up being canceled, that trade show, wherever it was, Germany or Netherlands. And, and I mentioned this to Karthik, and he's like, yeah, and we're trying to get to places where folks can actually put them on and try them. And that's the big thing for me. It's a lot of money to spend. And now the price is about $300 or $3,500. So, to buy them without trying them, and he mentioned that, there's, a pretty good return policy on them, but, still it's a lot of money to lay out and, not know if you're going to like them, use them. That's not something you try and use a little bit and, and then put them down and not use them again. And that was the cool thing I tried out. I did an episode about it with glasses from a company called eSight, and I hated them. I love the people in the company. They were great and friendly and helpful, but I just didn't like the product. I tried it at the movies. I tried it around the apartment when we were there. And, I was really disappointed. Again, it's like we're looking for the Holy Grail of vision, not the Holy Grail of life. And I would love to try these out. So I'm going to look around and hopefully I'll be able to find, Karthik had said that there's folks close by. Well, there's folks in most states now where you can get an actual demo of them in person, which I would love, and I am going to try that. And I just think it would be a lot of fun and just make life a lot easier. Again, because I can't hold something in my hand while if I've got, my right hand always has my cane. My left hand sometimes has something in it. And, with the pain in my hands all the time, I don't want to have to walk around with my cane in one hand and phone in the other. When I'm on my phone, sometimes I drop it. And fortunately, my reflexes are still pretty good. I catch it in the air before it falls to the ground. So to wear something while out and about, whether, when I was in the train station a couple of weeks ago at Penn Station, would make things a lot easier. It doesn't show you what's there, but it would read any sign that I was looking towards. I could read the names of, let's say, the different restaurants and stores without having to take my phone out of my pocket, hold it up and kind of wave it around until it started reading something. And of course, the problem at a busy place like Penn Station, when you do that and you don't have the earbuds in, I can't hear what it's saying. You know what I mean? Because I'm holding it up. It's not right in front of my face or in front of my ear. I'm holding it up, because, people are walking by. It's busy and whatnot. So, to have the glasses on, wearing them, it'd be a lot easier to hear, obviously. And, basically wherever I looked, it would tell me what I'm looking at, and I'd be able to read stuff like that. I'd be able to, it would read, like if I held up the mail, I could just look at the mail, and the camera on them would read the mail to me. So again, if you want to see what that's like, you can go to Let's Envision to learn about it and see it in action, both the glasses and the app. And of course, like I said, the app is free for 14 days, so you can check it out by going to the Apple App Store or Google Play and downloading it again. 14-day free trial, and just to get an idea of how things are for us and what I have to do. There's also a magnifier on it, which I've also found helpful. When trying to find an area of a paper that I want to read. We got a shipment of something in the other day, a package, and I didn't know where. There were a couple of labels on it, and I didn't know where exactly I needed to look. So I kind of looked around, and I saw the barcode when I, used the magnifier on the phone. And then once I found that, there's a button you can hit to read short text, and then it read it, and then I found out that it was a package for Jacob, and so I knew to bring it down and put it next to his room, or let him know that it was there. I don't remember if he was home or not. But again, let'senvision.com. I'll put the link in the show notes, and anything else that I mentioned with links, I'll put in the show notes. And those show notes will be at ican'tseeyou.com/144. Remember, I Can't See You sounds like a whole sentence, but it's only 7 characters long. ican'tseeyou.com/144. And I do appreciate you listening to this episode of the I Can't See You podcast. Remember, if you've got an idea, a question, a comment, good or bad, please reach out 646-926-6350. You have up to 3 minutes to record, and let me know if it's okay to use your voice in an upcoming episode. Also, tell me who you are and where you're from, and I appreciate that. You can also reach out via email, ican'tseeyouPodcast@gmail.com. That's ican'tseeyouPodcast@gmail.com. Again, thanks for listening to episode 144 of the I Can't See You podcast. My name is David, @DavidBenge on all the socials. I hope you're well, and I hope you're safe. Take care. Talk to you next week.
Thank you for listening to the I Can't See You podcast with David. Please rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen. And don't forget to share the podcast with your friends.